So for the getting started, this is a bit of review from grade 11, but also connects to what we saw already with moving things left, right, up, and down. So the first thing we're going to do is we have 4 graphs that we're going to put on there. We're going to color code them each differently. I'm going to rewrite this first one in blue. If q is 3, then I would get y equals x squared plus 3. In grade 11, you would have looked at this equation and thought about this. Ooh. Did your grade 11 use P and Q or H and K? Do you remember? Really doesn't. P and Q? It really doesn't matter. Some textbooks like to use P and Q, some use H and K. But your vertex would be P comma Q. And so this one, you would know your vertex is at 0 comma 3. And in grade 11, you would also say it was opening up. And you knew the special points that it went over 1, up 1, then over 1, up 3, and you could draw your graph this way. And in our new unit, can you see that the 3 original points on the red graph just got moved up 3? So our new unit would say, hey, we have a shortcut now. We can just say this is our original graph shifted up 3 units. Next, I'm going to switch to green. Now Q is going to be replaced with a -3. In grade 11, you would say the vertex was at 0, -3. And in our new unit, we would just say, oh, we're just going to take our red graph and move it down 3 units. And why it's nice to color code things in our notes is because it's really obvious to me that the green equation goes with the green graph. The blue equation goes with the blue graph. So if I was looking at this later when I'm studying, then I make that connection in my brain faster, right? It saves you time later on when you're studying. So next, switch to purple, and now we've got H, and we have x minus H, so x minus a -3 would be x plus 3 squared. And in grade 11, you would say the vertex was at -3 comma 0. In grade 12, we would say, hey, that 3 is inside the function. That moves something left and right, and the +3 is going to move it 3 to the left. So I take my original 3 points, and now I can move it 3 to the left. And finally, I'll use orange. I have x minus 4 squared. My vertex would be at 4 comma 0. That -4 is inside the function. That would move it 4 to the right. So in your textbook, there's always going to be this getting started. Sometimes I use the getting started as just a warm-up. I tell you guys, hey, open up your textbook, try this on your own. Usually it's something that you've done before, or it's connected to something you've learned before. So that works out really nicely. Sometimes I'm going to say, we're going to skip the getting started, and there's also another thing that helps you learn. We are going to skip this construct the understanding because in your book, it's not color-coded. And it is way, I think, way too many lines on one graph. That is not very helpful. Like, oh my goodness. There's a lot of absolute values on there. So we're going to skip this. We are going to look at a graph that we did, okay, and see, as a little review, does it make sense that this +2 would move it up 2? Does it make sense that this -1 would move it down 1? So we did our square root graph. Now we're noticing if there is stuff outside, okay, we would call that, and if you want to take out your highlighter, this is another thing we're going to be doing in our notes. Is it saving us some time? We can take out our highlighter and highlight important things. One thing that happens in the grade 12 course is that they really want you to improve your communication skills. So there will be some questions that say explain or describe, and you have to use words. So we're going to try to learn the proper terminology for describing things. So instead of saying it moved up 2, we might say there's a vertical translation. Translation is when things are shifted or moved up, down, left, and right. And same thing, something to notice here is that another way of writing that green equation is like this. Another way of writing the blue equation would be like this. Can you see that all they did was move the 1 over to the other side of the equation? Okay? So if, for me personally, if I had this blue equation, I would always change it to get the y by itself. Because that's how I feel comfortable seeing, hey, that moves it up 2. I mean, if you move it to the other side, now it's a -2. It could confuse you and make you think you should move 2 down. And same thing, here's the x cubed graph that we did. And now they have a +2 inside that graph. That would move it 2 to the left. We want to take out our highlighter. We call this a horizontal translation. And then -3 will move it 3 to the right. So what we see is the original parent graph stays the same, and things just move left, right, up, and down.